Hello and welcome to this short video about using trigonometry in 2 dimensions. Now we use trigonometry to find either side lengths or angles in right angle triangles. And we've got an example here. So we have a right angle triangle, we've got an angle that's 36 degrees, the hypotenuse is 7. Remember, the hypotenuse is the longest side, it's always opposite the right angle. And we need to find this missing side length x. Now the first thing we're going to always do, or I would advise you always doing with a trigonometry question, is writing out SOHCAHTOA. Now SOHCAHTOA is a mnemonic, it helps us remember the order that the trigonometric functions work in. And I'm going to label up my sides. So 7 is the hypotenuse, because it's opposite the right angle, and it's the longest side. And then I'm playing with this angle up here, 36 degrees. And because I'm playing with that 36 degrees, I know that this side length here is the adjacent. It's the adjacent because it's next door to the 36. And adjacent means next door. You can see it's touching the 36, whereas the side length x over here is not touching the 36. It's the opposite. It's opposite that 36 degrees. What I'm now going to do is cross out the side that I'm not interested in. I know that the hypotenuse is 7, so I need to use that, so I'm interested in the 7. I'm trying to find the opposite, so I'm interested in the opposite. But the adjacent has nothing there. I don't know the length of it, and I'm not trying to find the length of it, so I don't care about it. I don't care about the A. So I'm going to cross it out. And then in SOHCAHTOA, I'm going to cross out anything that I'm not using. Anything that uses the A. So ka has a in it and toa has a in it, so I cross both of those out. And what this tells me is that I need to use sin. Sin of my angle is opposite over hypotenuse. Do you know, notice in SOHCAHTOA everything is in the right order. So sin is opposite over hypotenuse, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan is opposite over adjacent. Now what I'm going to do is substitute in the values that I need to find. So sin of 36, because the angle I've been given is 36, is opposite x over hypotenuse 7. Now on my calculator, I know that sin 36 is 0.588 to 3 significant figures. But I'm not going to work that out yet. I'm going to leave it as sin 36 so I get as accurate an answer as possible. Now I need to solve it for x. So I'm going to times by 7. Normal equation solving things here. It's divided by 7. So to get rid of that divide by 7, I'm going to times by 7. So 7 times sin 36 is x. So I know that x is 4.11. So we have another example here, so we'll go through those same steps. I'm going to write out SOHCAHTOA and label my sides. So x is the hypotenuse, it's the longest side opposite the right angle. 25 is adjacent because it's next door to and touching the 40 degrees, which is the angle I've been given. So the side over here is the opposite. I'm going to cross out what I don't want. Now opposite is not playing this time, I don't care about the opposite because there's no number on it and it's not the side I'm trying to find. So I cross out anything with an O. So I'm crossing out SO and TOA, and that tells me this time I'm using cos, and if you remember it's in the right order, so it's A over H. Then what I'm going to do is substitute things in. So cos 40 is equal to 25 over x, or question mark, whatever you want to call it. Now last time we had x on the top, we had our unknown on the top, so I just had to do some timesing. The little trick we can do here is just swap. So I can swap the cos 40 and the x. So when x is on the bottom, you can just swap it around. So x is 25 over cos 40. And if you remember, we'll leave it as cos 40. We're not going to calculate that value yet. We can put 25 divided by cos 40 on our calculators. And to 3 significant figures, That's 32.6. And as I said earlier, we can also use trigonometry to find a missing angle. And this time, I know two side lengths, 9 and 20, but I don't know that angle, and that's what they want me to find. So I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to write out SOHCAHTOA, label up my triangle, so that one opposite the right angle is hypotenuse. The one next to and touching the angle that's interesting is A, and the side that's over there without anything on it, without touching the angle, is O. Cross out what I don't want. Well, this time I don't want the hypotenuse, because the hypotenuse doesn't have a number on it and it's not a side I'm trying to find. So cross out anything with H, and that leaves me with tan. So tan of my angle is opposite over adjacent, because they're always in the right order, and it's substituting what we know. So tan theta is O, which is 9, over A, which is 20. Now in normal algebra solving, we have to do the opposite to get rid of something. If you remember a minute ago when it said divide, we did some timesing, for example. The opposite of tan is tan to the -1. And on your calculator, or most calculators, you press shift and tan to get that. So theta, my missing angle, is tan -1 of 9 over 20, which is 24.2 degrees to 3 significant figures. So, to summarise, we're always going to write out, or I advise you always writing out, SOHCAHTOA. You label up your sides, cross out what you don't want to use. If you're trying to find an angle, you use sin -1, cos -1, or tan -1. And to get that, you press shift on your calculator. And to find a side, if x is on top, you just do some timesing. And if x is on the bottom, you swap. So let's just have a quick run through of all of them again. So I'm going to write out SOHCAHTOA and label up my sides. That's the hypotenuse because it's the longest. That's the adjacent because it's next to it, and O because it's opposite. Opposite isn't playing. Also, that was the wrong button. Opposite isn't playing, so we cross it out. Cross out anything with an O in it. So this time I'm using cos. Substituting what we know. I don't know the angle. Is A, which is 3, over H, which is 8. This time I'm finding an angle, so I use the shift cos, so cos -1. So I'm finding the inverse cos of 3 over 8, which is, to 3 significant figures, 68.0. On this next one we do the same again. Write out SOHCAHTOA, label up the sides. That's the hypotenuse, it's the longest and opposite the right angle. That's the opposite, so it's not touching the 53, and that's the adjacent. Cross out what I don't want. I don't want the adjacent this time because there's no number next to it, and that's not what I'm trying to find. So cross out anything with an A in it, so that's cat and toa. So this time I'm using sin, which is O over H. Let's substitute in what we know. So sin 53 is 14 over x, and this time we have x on the bottom, so we swap. X is equal to 14 over sin 43, which is 17.5 to 3 significant figures. And this last one, we'll write out SOHCAHTOA again, label up the sides, cross out what I'm not interested in. This time I'm using cos again, so cos of my angle is A over H. Substituting what we know. So cos 25 is x over 12.5. My unknown is on the top, so I can just do some timesing to get rid of the divided by 12.5. So 12 cos 25 is x, which is 11.3 to 3 significant figures. I hope that helps. Thanks very much.